web development, it's always felt like this just massive, intimidating mountain range of information.
Yeah, it really is.
You've got to conquer front-end, back-end, design aesthetics, database management, all these esoteric code syntaxes, and 1,000 confusing acronyms.
And just when you think you've learned one, a new one pops up.
Exactly. The traditional path always involved spending years trying to master one framework, only for that framework to be, well, kind of obsolete by the time you achieve any real mastery.
That's the classic developer's dilemma.
So the fundamental question for any ambitious learner today, or even a seasoned pro who's just trying to catch up, is how do you navigate that world quickly, build something genuinely robust and scalable, and not just drown in the sheer volume of jargon and all required syntax?
And that question, how to achieve that rapid, comprehensive, and most importantly, relevant mastery, is exactly what we're tackling today. We have a really powerful, comprehensive roadmap laid out in our source material.
What are we looking at?
It's the detailed table of contents and some expansive excerpts from a book called Coaching Website Development with AI Tools by Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir. And this isn't just a technical reference book, It's a meticulously structured curriculum. It's designed specifically for the 21st century developer who sees AI not as a replacement, but as an indispensable partner.
I love that framing, an indispensable partner.
Yeah.
Because this whole approach, it promises a necessary shortcut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But crucially, it seems like it achieves that speed not by cutting corners on the fundamental knowledge.
No, not at all.
But by intelligently leveraging AI as a development coach. The book itself is dedicated, and I'm quoting from the front matter here, to every learner who dreams of building something lasting online.
That really sets the tone, doesn't it?
It does. It immediately sets the expectation that this is about creation, it's about legacy and entrepreneurship, not just, typing code into a terminal for a paycheck.
And the preface, which is titled Why AI Coaching Matters in the 21st Century, it lays out the big promise. It's about the massive skill shift we're all undergoing right now.
Okay, so what is that shift exactly?
Well, think about it. Historically, a web developer's value was intrinsically linked to their ability to write and manage massive amounts of complex, often really repetitive code.
Right. How many lines of code can you write per day?
Precisely. But AI fundamentally transforms that by automating the syntax-heavy, the error-prone, and all the boilerplate tasks. This shifts the learner's focus entirely. They move from memorizing syntax to much higher-level skills.
Like what?
Strategy, architecture, complex integration, and real problem solving. AI acts as a co-pilot, and in doing so, it dramatically shortens the learning curve required to go full stack.
That is the essence of the transformation, isn't it? We are not learning how to write every single line of CSS or how to configure every routing mechanism by hand anymore.
Not from scratch, no.
We are learning what good architecture needs to accomplish, and then we are prompting and directing the AI to execute those functional code blocks.
Yeah.
The core skill is becoming prompt engineering and, I think just as importantly, critical code review.
Absolutely. You have to be able to read and understand what the AI gives you.
So today, we're going to follow this book's highly logical 4 main parts: foundation, creation, integration, and launch, and then finally, growth and ethics, to give you, our listener, that same structured, modern mindset for building on the web.
Let's do it. We begin where every single successful project, digital or otherwise, should, with a robust understanding and a very clear mindset. Chapter 1 is called Defining Web Development in the AI Era, and it immediately sets the scene by addressing this seismic shift that has already happened in the field.
Okay, so let's unpack this critical transformation.
Mm-hmm.
The book calls it the evolution from code to AI-assisted creation. Now, think back maybe just 10 years ago. If you wanted a simple interactive component on a website, let's say a modal window that pops up.
A classic example.
We had to write the HTML structure from scratch, then the complex CSS for the transitions and the positioning, and then all this verbose JavaScript just to handle the open and close events. It was a lot of work for one small feature.
Oh, a ton of work, and prone to so many little bugs across different browsers.
Right. But now we might simply describe the modal's function, its aesthetic, and its trigger mechanism to an AI, and it generates the required, often standardized, code block in seconds. This radically changes the core competency needed to even enter the field.
Precisely. It moves the human developer higher up the value chain. It takes away the manual labor and lets them focus on the truly custom, the non-standard aspects of the project. But, and this is a big, but To direct the AI effectively, you still need that foundational knowledge.
You can't just be a black box operator.
You can't, and that's why the source material immediately simplifies the required technical context. It breaks down the famous stack.
Yeah.
We need to clearly define front end, back end, and full stack.
Okay, let's do it. Front end.
The front end is everything the user sees and interacts with. It's the visual interface handled by technologies like HTML for the structure,
The skeleton.
CSS for the style,
The close and the patch up.
and JavaScript for the behavior, the interactivity.
So that's the part that absolutely has to look good, load fast, and respond intuitively. It's the entire user experience layer.
Okay, so then the back end, that's the non-glamorous engine room handling all the complex logistics, right?
Exactly. The back end handles the core logic, all the database interactions, user authentication, security, and serving up the correct dynamic information at just the right time. It's the server side. It's unseen, but it's absolutely essential for any dynamic application.
And when you can manage both.
When you master the ability to manage and integrate both layers, the presentation and the logic, you become a full-stack developer. And this section is so crucial because it simplifies those complex roles. It lets the learner visualize exactly where they're going to focus their AI-assisted efforts.
So the core takeaway from this foundational stage is that AI genuinely transforms the learning curve by acting as a kind of smart scaffolding. You still need to understand the architectural requirements, the skeleton and the engine. But the tedious initial build phase, the part that so often led to burnout, is just dramatically accelerated. And this guide doesn't allow for passive reading. It's not a textbook you just read. It immediately pushes the learner into action. The very first practical assignment, called Practice Zone #1, is map your digital dream.
I like that.
And it culminates in creating my first vision statement. This tells us that the course prioritizes applied learning from minute one. You have to articulate the why.
Why are you even building this site? What gap are you filling, and what is the ultimate ambition behind it?
Exactly. Because without that vision, all the technical tools in the world are meaningless.
That leads us perfectly into Chapter 2, where we move from that vision to an actual execution strategy. Strategy and planning with AI assistance. Before we touch a single design prompt or a line of generated code, we absolutely must define the purpose, the target audience, and the concrete outcomes we're looking for. This is critical mission mapping.
And this is where AI really transcends its role as a mere coding assistant and starts functioning as a genuine strategist. The source highlights how specific AI tools are used incredibly early in the process for crafting a sitemap and meticulously mapping the user journey.
Let's talk about the old way of doing that. It was whiteboarding sessions, flowcharts, days of drawing out every possible interaction path on a wall.
Sticky notes everywhere.
Sticky notes everywhere. So how does AI change that process?
Well, now you can input the site's core purpose. For instance, I'm building a subscription box service that sells custom artisanal stationery to remote workers. And the AI will propose logical sitemaps and complex user flows.
So it would spit out something like landing page, then to value proposition, then subscription tiers.
Right. Then a personalized box builder, then into the checkout flow, and finally account management. It generates the entire logical structure for you.
Wow. That's not just an efficiency gain. That's an immediate injection of industry-standard architecture into a project that might otherwise just stall on initial planning.
It's a huge head start. But great planning isn't complete without measurable success metrics. The framework here emphasizes applying the classic SMART goal-setting framework specifically to web projects.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right. So a goal is never just, I want a popular website. That's useless. It must be defined with precision. Something like, I want a website that achieves an initial load time of under 1.5 seconds.
Okay, that's measurable and achievable.
And generates 20 qualified subscription signups.
Specific and relevant.
Within the first 3 months.
And there's your time bound. That precision, which is directed by the initial AI strategy output, is just absolutely critical to long-term success and to continuous iteration. I do wonder about the tool selection at this stage, though. The chapter stresses this crucial early decision, choosing the right AI builder for your needs. If you're a beginner, how do you even evaluate those criteria without getting totally overwhelmed by the options?
That's a really critical point, and the guide forces this decision up front because the tool you choose determines the rest of your technology stack. The criteria usually revolve around two things: scalability and complexity.
Okay, so break that down.
Does your project primarily need static presentation and simple content management? That would suggest a tool like Framer AI or maybe Webflow AI. It's a low-code approach.
Good for speed and simplicity.
Right. Or do you require robust user authentication, complex data relationships, and high scalability for thousands of users? That would suggest a full code framework like Next.js, assisted by Vercel's AI tools, connecting to a powerful back-end platform like Supabase.
So the learner has to determine if they need a low-code platform for speed or a full-code environment for maximum customizability down the road.
It's one of the first and most important decisions. And the reflection box here is foundational. It brings us right back to the human element with the question, who will my website serve?
It's a constant ethical and strategic reminder that all this technology, the code, the AI, the database, it all serves the end user, not the developer's ego.
And if you can't answer that single question clearly, your entire strategy, regardless of how advanced your AI tools are, is probably going to fail to gain traction.
Okay, so we've solidified the strategy and defined the audience. Now we can get our hands dirty and dive deep into the creation phase. This starts, very logically, with Chapter 3, AI-driven design and user experience, or UX. This is where the digital dream starts to gain a tangible visual form and where that blank page paralysis is finally cured.
Absolutely. And the emphasis here right away has to be on understanding principles first. You need to master the principles of good design made easy.
So this isn't just about making things look pretty.
Not at all. This means understanding concepts like visual hierarchy, what's the most important element on the page. It means understanding contrast. How do we make calls to action really pop? It's about balance and visual consistency across the entire site.
You can prompt an AI to generate 1,000 different design options, but the human needs to be able to critically vet them against these established principles for usability, accessibility, and how well they align with the brand.
Exactly. It's the difference between generating a statistically pleasing image and generating a genuinely functional, accessible, and user-centric machine. The book then tackles the underlying aesthetic science, color psychology and typography for beginners.
This is fascinating stuff. Like, why does a banking website almost always rely on blues and whites?
Trust and security. Those colors evoke a sense of calm and stability.
Whereas a youth fashion brand might use vibrant reds and yellows.
For energy, excitement, urgency, understands the emotional and the functional impact of fonts and colors is just non-negotiable. Even if an AI suggests the palette, the human has to understand why that palette works for the target audience you defined back in Chapter 2.
And this is where the specific tools really show their disruptive power, highlighting the practical application of specific AI design platforms. The source material names 3 big ones: Figma AI, Uzard, and Framer AI.
Let's break those down. Figma is already the collaborative industry standard for design. Now it's just dramatically augmented with AI for faster component generation and automatic style guide creation.
So it takes what designers were already doing and just speeds it up.
It puts it on steroids, basically. Then you have Uzard, which specializes in turning rough sketches. I mean, literally a photo of a drawing on a napkin, or even simple screenshots into beautiful, high-fidelity interfaces almost instantly.
That's amazing for rapid prototyping.
It's incredible. But I find Framer AI to be maybe the most revolutionary for the modern developer because it seamlessly connects design and code.
So
It's famous for taking a simple text prompt, say, a clean, modern, fully responsive dashboard layout for tracking weekly fitness goals, and not just spitting out a static image, but a working, responsive design prototype that uses modern web frameworks.
So it's not just a picture of a website, it's a piece of a website.
Exactly. This is the revolutionary ability to build wireframes and mock-ups simply from prompts and have them convert immediately into functional code. You completely bypass the tedious manual drawing phase and the subsequent manual coding of that design.
Let's expand on that specific disruption because it's huge. Framer and tools like it eliminate that massive time sink of converting static design files like a JPG or a traditional Figma file into functioning responsive HTML, CSS, and React code.
Which used to be a specialized job in itself.
It was. And this allows the human developer to skip straight to integrating the back-end logic, which is the higher value add activity.
It's a fundamental shift in workflow.
Moving smoothly from the visual design to the core messaging. Chapter 4 covers content, tone, and ethical SEO. The design is the container, but the content is the core value proposition that actually convinces the user to stay, to engage, or to buy.
And let's be honest, most developers are not natural copywriters.
Not usually, no.
That's why the source immediately points to leveraging AI for the most crucial part, the words. We're talking about using large language models like ChatGPT and Claude for writing persuasive web copy.
But the critical challenge here isn't just generating text, right? It's generating text that perfectly embodies the tone and the voice, and, most importantly, resonates with that specific audience we keep coming back to.
Absolutely. The process doesn't stop with the raw AI draft. This stage heavily emphasizes refining the copy and tone using specialized tools like Grammarly and Canva Magic Write.
Grammarly is a classic. It catches not just grammatical errors, but style inconsistencies and awkward phrasing, ensuring that professional polish.
Right. And Canva's Magic Write, which is often used for brainstorming and structuring content, helps ensure that the overall content flow aligns perfectly with the site's brand voice and its visual components. The copy has to feel cohesive, not like it was synthesized by a machine.
So now we have polished content. We have to connect it to discoverability, which means SEO, search engine optimization. Chapter 4 provides the SEO fundamentals in plain English.
This means understanding the core mechanics, things like keywords, what are people actually searching for, meta descriptions, what appears in the search results under your link, and alt text, how do search engines understand your images? It's the language that search engines use to assess and prioritize your site.
And crucially, this section stresses the necessity of ethical optimization. What does that mean in this context?
We're talking about utilizing keywords naturally, avoiding that outdated practice of keyword stuffing that just punishes the user by being unreadable. It's about prioritizing the creation of genuine high-quality value for the user first.
So good SEO now is fundamentally about clarity, relevance, and semantic depth.
Exactly. This is a foundational ethical principle of the entire guide. It connects back to the learner's integrity. If you only build for the search engine, you will eventually lose the human user.
With the strategy, design, and content all locked down, Chapter 5 finally dives into the technical foundation, front-end basics bringing design to life. This is where the code starts, but the approach is deliberately engineered to be as unintimidating as possible.
I appreciate the conceptual approach here. The book introduces this innovative way of understanding HTML, CSS, and JavaScript through stories.
Okay, I like that. So what's the story?
It means treating HTML as the structural skeleton of the page. CSS is the aesthetic styling. It's the clothing, the makeup, the haircut. And JavaScript is the interactivity. It's the nervous system that handles motion and dynamic response.
Making these components conceptual like that drastically reduces the psychological barrier that's associated with just learning raw syntax from a book.
It does. And then we get back to the core AI efficiency that transforms this learning curve. The chapter highlights specialized tools for AI code generation. Specifically, it names Replit AI and V0 by Vercel.
Let's talk about those. What does Replit AI do?
Replit is an integrated development environment, an IDE where the AI acts as a pair programmer. It sits next to you virtually, suggesting entire blocks of code, complex functions, or correcting your syntax as you type. It's like autocomplete on performance-enhancing drugs.
And V0 by Vercel, we touched on this earlier, but it's highly focused on modern, clean UI components built on frameworks like Tailwind CSS.
Right. You provide it a high-level prompt, something like, I need a responsive footer with 3 utility links, a social media section, and a dark mode toggle.
And it just generates it.
It instantly generates the component code, ready to be dropped right into your project. The focus is squarely on achieving correct, modern layouts, ensuring responsiveness across all devices, and implementing interactivity without the developer needing to manually write all that repetitive boilerplate code.
What's so fascinating here is the shift in the required skill set. If V0 is generating the code, the developer's time shifts from writing the code to reading and verifying the code.
And that accelerates learning because it presents the finished, optimized solution first, forcing the beginner to reverse engineer the architecture rather than build it from a blank slate.
But this does raise a skeptical question, and I know this is a concern many people have. If the AI is writing, say, 90% of the front-end code, is there a risk of creating prompt dependency, where the learner never actually truly understands the underlying syntax?
That is a legitimate, critical concern, and the guide implicitly addresses it through the emphasis on debugging. Relying on AI means you absolutely must be able to verify, secure, and fix its output.
So the learning happens when the AI makes a mistake.
Precisely. That's why the essential skill of debugging with AI assistance is taught immediately. If the AI provides code that fails, the developer doesn't panic. They feed the error message, the surrounding code, and a description of the desired behavior back into the AI assistant and ask it to explain why it failed and provide the specific correction.
And that process accelerates learning the mechanics of error handling and architectural flaws exponentially. It's often faster than trying to parse dense technical documentation all by yourself.
That moment of fixing the AI's mistake is where the real deep learning happens. And the reflection box here captures the emotional high point of this whole phase. What I learned from my first code. It signifies that powerful transition from just consuming theory to the satisfaction of seeing your own functional creation.
Okay, so that's the front end. Now, moving to Chapter 6, we cross the crucial threshold into the server side. Back-end development and data logic made simple. This is traditionally the single biggest hurdle for self-learners, right? It involves databases, security, server logic.
It really is, and the source brilliantly addresses it by starting with jargon demystified. It's all about explaining databases and APIs in everyday language.
Let's elaborate on those analogies because they're so helpful. A database isn't some complex server farm in this context. It's simply an incredibly organized, scalable, and indexed filing cabinet where information is stored and retrieved efficiently.
A perfect analogy. And an API, or an application programming interface, is like the disciplined waiter in a restaurant. The waiter takes your specific order, that's the request, to the kitchen, the back-end logic, and brings back exactly what you asked for, the data response.
So with those concepts clear, the book then teaches data-structured tools by pairing AI assistance with existing, developer-friendly back-end-as-a-service platforms. The guide mentioned Supabase, Firebase, and Airtable.
These platforms are key because they handle all the heavy lifting of server management, scaling, and maintenance. Supabase and Firebase are really powerful, scalable platforms for building real-time applications with built-in user authentication. Airtable offers more visual, spreadsheet-like database interface, which is great for simpler projects.
The utility here is huge. Instead of spending weeks learning SQL syntax and server configuration from scratch, the learner can use AI prompts to help design the database schema, defining the tables and the relationships, and then deploy it almost instantly on one of these BaaS platforms.
Exactly. The practical application then focuses on the core necessities of the backend, connecting forms and saving user data. This is the moment your website becomes dynamic. It can finally interact with and remember its users.
So for instance, successfully taking a user registration form and then securely saving their name, their email, and a hashed password into a Supabase database.
That's the milestone. And if you're collecting any user data, security is not optional, it's paramount. The chapter provides a crucial briefing on security basics for beginners.
This is high leverage knowledge.
It is. It means understanding input validation, making sure a user can't enter malicious code into a form field. It means protecting sensitive data through encryption and ensuring basic authentication mechanisms are robust enough to prevent simple brute force attacks.
This is a great example of the AI-coached approach in action, isn't it? The AI might generate the boilerplate authentication code, but the human developer must know to verify that the input validation logic is actually in place, because a prompt engineer's mistake can easily become a major security vulnerability.
That right there is the essence of the human-in-the-loop model. And that ends the creation part. The learner has now designed the interface, written the content, generated and verified the front-end code, and built the back-end data structure. Now for the final, complex step, making them all communicate seamlessly.
Our part 3 is dedicated to transitioning from component creation to a unified product launch, starting with Chapter 7, Full Stack Connection and Workflow Automation. This is often where projects built by learners kind of fall apart, the integration phase.
It's a common stumbling block. The technical heart of this integration is the deep dive into APIs, how front meets back. We have to understand precisely how the client side, the front end, running in the user's browser, sends an explicit request to the server side, the back end.
So an example would be clicking a button that says submit this comment.
Exactly. That click sends a request to the server via the API endpoint. And we need to know what exact format the response takes. It's usually a format called JSON. This communication point is what transforms a collection of static pages into a dynamic application that can serve unique content to different users.
Once that core communication is established, the guide introduces the power of workflow automation. You don't want every necessary action to require you to write manual server-side code?
No, that would be incredibly inefficient. The source spotlights dedicated platforms for building these complex workflows. Make, Zapier, and Bubble workflows. These are the integration heavyweights.
Let's discuss the power they unlock. What can you do with them?
Well, these low-code tools allow the website to automatically trigger complex external actions. For example, when a user submits a contact form on your site that's a front-end event, the workflow might automatically do 3 things.
Okay, what are they?
1, it could send the data via an API to a Google Sheet for your records. 2, It could create a new task card in a project management tool like Trello for your development team. And 3, it could send a personalized thank you email to the user via a service like SendGrid.
And that entire sequence, which used to require writing and maintaining multiple different integration scripts, is now orchestrated by a single, often AI-defined workflow.
It dramatically increases the site's functional power and efficiency without needing to write complex, bespoke server functions for every single little utility.
But before you can launch, thorough testing is absolutely non-negotiable. Chapter 7 covers testing and error handling using AI assistance.
This is a huge time saver. An AI can simulate a vast number of user actions, identifying broken links, checking form submissions across dozens of scenarios, and even reviewing verbose server log files for subtle anomalies before a human developer could ever possibly catch them.
So by feeding the AI tool the sitemap and the user journey that we defined earlier, it can essentially perform automated regression testing, saving hours and hours of manual quality assurance.
That's right. And the emotional payoff of this stage, when it all finally works, is perfectly captured in the reflection box, when everything clicked together.
It's that satisfying moment when a complex sequence a user registers, the backend validates their info, the database saves it, the workflow triggers an email, and the user sees a confirmation on their screen. It all just works harmoniously for the very first time.
It's a magical moment for any developer. Chapter 8 then moves into the critical refinement phase. Optimization and continuous improvement. You built it, now you have to ensure it runs optimally, securely, and accessibly for everyone, everywhere.
This starts with a complete website health check that is multifaceted. We're covering 3 critical areas that directly impact both user experience and your search ranking.
What rating?
First is speed. How fast does the site actually load, particularly on a mobile connection? Second is accessibility. Can people who are relying on screen readers or navigating solely by keyboard use it seamlessly? And third is a deep SEO analysis. Are we adhering to modern standards like Google's core Web Vitals?
And to facilitate this, the book recommends specific performance tools, and many of these are industry staples: Lighthouse, PageSpeed Insights, and AI debugging.
Lighthouse and PageSpeed, both from Google, provide objective, measurable scores and, crucially, actionable feedback. They tell you what's wrong.
Right, and the AI debugging step comes in when the tool takes that dense report, which might say something like, reduce unused JavaScript on this page by 30%, and translates it into a prioritized list of specific code files and suggested solutions, eliminating all the guesswork for a beginner.
The underlying philosophical takeaway from this chapter is really the absolute necessity of the continuous improvement mindset. A successful website is never finished.
Never. It is a living, breathing digital product that requires ongoing monitoring and iteration based on real-world performance data and ever-changing technology standards.
And this dedication to iteration brings us to Chapter 9, Launch and Monitoring the Moment of Truth, the final frontier of deployment.
The big day.
First, the practical, modern logistics. Domains, hosting, and deployment. The guide focuses on modern, Git-based, efficient services like Vercel and Netlify.
These platforms have really simplified the deployment process drastically. They allow developers to push changes live simply by committing their code to a repository, which then automatically triggers the entire build, testing, and hosting process.
This means much faster updates and a lot less time spent managing complex server environments, which used to be a huge headache.
Oh, a nightmare. Now, once you're live, you need actionable intelligence on your audience. That means decoding analytics in plain English. The source suggests using 2 tools in tandem, Google Analytics and Hotjar AI.
Let's differentiate those. Google Analytics tells you the quantitative data, the what. Who came from where, how long did they stay, and which pages did they visit.
Right, and Hotjar AI provides the critical qualitative context, the why. It does this through things like heat maps and session recordings, showing you where visitors are actually clicking, scrolling, or critically where they are getting frustrated and leaving.
The integration of the AI here is key, isn't it? Hotjar AI doesn't just show you hours of raw video footage of user sessions.
No, who has time for that? It synthesizes the data. It finds the rage clicks, the repeated navigation failures, the high abandonment rates, and it pinpoints the 3 most critical friction points on your entire site, automating the complex qualitative analysis a human UX researcher would spend a week performing.
And that intelligence leads directly to the critical step of reading data and adapting strategy. If the data shows that 85% of your visitors leave the site after reading the first paragraph of your pricing page, the strategy has to change.
Something is clearly wrong. Perhaps the value proposition is unclear or the price is presented way too early in the user journey. You use objective evidence from the data, synthesized by AI, not just your intuition, to adapt the living product.
And the human element here, captured so well in the reflection box, is my first visitor story. That transition from building a private project on your own computer to seeing real people interact with your creation, solving their problems, or engaging with your content, that is genuinely transformative and validating.
It's the whole reason you build things. And the final quarter of this roadmap elevates the discussion beyond the initial product launch and into the long-term career path and the necessary ethical responsibilities of a modern developer. Chapter 10, the coaching roadmap from learner to entrepreneur, defines this continuous professional growth.
This chapter institutionalizes the progression path, detailing the 4 stages of mastery: learner, builder, developer, and entrepreneur. This is a fantastic way for someone starting out to visualize their own progression and measure their skills beyond simply listing the tools they know.
It's a real journey. Let's break those down. The learner is consuming foundational knowledge and practicing basic, directed tasks with a high degree of AI guidance.
They're following the tutorials.
Exactly. The builder can complete small, defined, self-contained projects independently. They're still leveraging AI tools heavily, but they're starting to manage more complex integration on their own.
Okay, what comes after builder?
The developer. This person masters full-stack integration, they can solve non-standard problems, and they can confidently debug complex, even strange AI-generated code. They understand the why behind the code.
And finally, the entrepreneur.
The entrepreneur leverages all those technical skills to create viable, scalable digital businesses, whether that's offering services or building their own custom software products for the market.
And to ensure this sustained progression, the book advocates for crucial practical support mechanisms, specifically the value of peer review and accountability groups.
This is so important. Trying to learn and debug complex web development projects in total isolation is incredibly difficult and often really demoralizing.
I can imagine.
Having a cohort for feedback, for motivation, and for critical review of your code architecture is just crucial for staying relevant and maintaining that forward momentum.
And this momentum is tied directly to structured, measurable progress through what the book calls the My Growth Tracker concept for setting personal milestones.
Milestones are vital psychological anchors. They could be technical, like completing your first secure back-end user login from scratch, or they could be business-oriented, like securing your first paid client or launching your site publicly to its first 1,000 users.
Chapter 11 provides a unique and really powerful perspective: building for a global audience. This is a crucial acknowledgement that digital skills completely transcend geographic borders, offering unprecedented access to global opportunity.
And the author focuses on the specific context of building from Pakistan for a global audience.
What's the focus there?
This section focuses heavily on identifying free tools accessible regionally. In many regions, software licensing costs might be prohibitive, or international payment gateways can be very complicated. Knowing which robust, professional-grade, zero-cost alternatives exist is vital for true global participation in the digital economy.
So things like open source databases, free tier hosting services, and community-driven AI models.
Exactly. And the end goal of this mastery, which is facilitated by this cost-effective and rapid development approach, is clear: unlocking avenues for freelancing and entrepreneurship opportunities.
A learner who follows this structured path, mastering full-stack AI-assisted development, is immediately marketable on a global scale. They're able to compete on skill and efficiency, regardless of their physical location.
The reflection here is aspirational and so powerful. How I can serve the world from here. It intentionally shifts the focus from just building a single website or earning a salary to building a long-term career based on global contribution and impact.
Finally, Chapter 12 brings us to the future: lifelong learning and digital ethics. Because the web development landscape is perhaps the fastest-moving industry on the planet, the concept of continuous upskilling with AI is just central to career sustainability.
The tools change so rapidly. If the capabilities of core AI assistants or frameworks like Vercel or Supabase fundamentally update every 6 months, the human developer must adapt.
But this doesn't mean constantly memorizing new syntax, does it?
No, not at all. It means constantly learning the capabilities and the limitations of the new tools and figuring out how to prompt them effectively to integrate new features. The learning is about abstract problem solving, not rote memorization.
But the most important element of this concluding chapter, I think, is the detailed discussion on digital ethics, responsibility, privacy, and originality.
This is critical. Since AI can generate vast amounts of content, design, and code so rapidly, the ethical burden on the human developer increases exponentially.
We have to be highly conscious of so many things now. Are we using training data that includes copyrighted material? Are we protecting user data adequately according to global standards like GDPR? Are we transparent about the level of AI generation in our content, or are we misleading our users?
This commitment to ethical responsibility directly contributes to building a sustainable career in the AI era. Longevity and securing high-value contracts in this field require deep trust, and that trust is built on integrity, data transparency, and adherence to sophisticated ethical standards.
And this chapter culminates by requiring the learner to create a binding My Ethical Pledge.
A personal code of conduct.
Exactly. Before we wrap up the main segments, we should briefly cover the significant value add the source provides in its appendices, because they're really essential practical shortcuts for the learner.
Absolutely. The AI tool directory and comparison matrix in Appendix A is a vital time-saving shortcut. In a landscape that's changing this fast, having a curated, compared list of which tool excels at design versus which one excels at back-end code generation is just indispensable.
It guides the learner's choices based on objective criteria, not just on marketing hype.
Exactly. And for those moments when the technical language just feels overwhelming, the glossary of key terms in the back matter ensures simple, on-demand explanations for all the technical words. It acts as an immediate reference point, effectively stopping jargon from becoming an unnecessary barrier to entry.
So we've just journeyed through a highly structured, modern roadmap for web development. We've gone from developing a strategic vision and crafting sophisticated prompts for design.
Through AI-assisted coding and complex full-stack back-end integration, all the way to global, automated deployment and ethical, long-term professional growth.
Our recap of this core learning path shows pretty definitively that the modern developer is less of a pure coder focused on syntax and more of a creative architect and a prompt engineer. You are synthesizing business strategy, visual design, and data logic using powerful tools like Figma AI, V0 by Vercel, and scalable platforms like Supabase.
The final critical takeaway for you, the learner, is that the biggest shift required is not just in using the AI tools, but in adopting the structured mindset of continuous planning, rapid prototyping, and critical ethical iteration.
The human input, the strategy, the aesthetic judgment, the ethical consideration, and the critical review of the generated code, that remains the single most valuable, non-replicable component of the entire process.
It does. This roadmap provides the comprehensive structure and the tool set, but the motivation and the long-term vision must come from you.
So to close out this deep dive, we want to leave you with the provocative thought that's drawn directly from the guide's final reflection box, which is titled, My Vision for the Next 10 Years. Now that you have this comprehensive roadmap, this highly detailed flight plan for building scalable digital creations, what is your vision for your digital contributions over the next decade? It's time to stop thinking about just learning and start drafting that long-term plan for building something lasting.